Hi, my name is Elizabeth Winterbourne, and I am a singer-songwriter based in New York City. I am originally from the Southwest in Arizona. So like my background beyond that, that in and of itself really influenced kind of how I started creating music, and I think kind of how I look at music now, because I sort of grew up in like the folk music world and community in the Southwest, and I got to play with some really cool like folk rock kind of musicians who have been who have been playing music for a long time. I grew up playing with the Ronstadt family, and it very much like kind of instilled in me this sense that like I wanted to talk about a lot of things in writing my music, and that writing in and of itself was really important. And like I think kind of the style of how I write music does come a lot, like my lyricism comes a lot from those sort of inspirations of kind of like James Taylor, Dan Fogelberg, like kind of that sort of that group of artists in that kind of style, and also just like a love of like folk instrumentation. Yeah. So that's kind of, I feel like that was a really big part of kind of how I started creating music, and how I still create music nowadays, even though I'm doing a lot more kind of pop genre stuff. And like in terms of kind of other things with like socioeconomic status and other background stuff, like I mean I grew up I didn't have a lot of money growing up, and I think that also kind of prompted things of like the way that I sort of viewed the world and creating music. And like music was always sort of the safe haven for me as a kid through whatever might be happening in my life, and so it made me like I very much just sort of feel like music is an integral part of who I am as a person, sort of because of that, and growing up with that as like my safe haven in a way. My biggest influences, I mean, definitely Linda Ronstadt. She's such an incredible singer. Oh my goodness. So definitely Linda Ronstadt. I would be remiss if I did not say Taylor Swift. Because I was of the generation that like I was 12 when Red came out, and I saw her on that tour. And also just, she was one of the few people who was like she was a young female artist who started very young and wrote her own music, and that was really inspirational, because that didn't exist a lot. And, I saw so much of popular music being this kind of reality of like, you are a singer and other people write music for you. And that wasn't what I wanted. And so that was definitely something that inspired me a lot, and I just loved the way that she wrote music too, and how personal it was. So definitely that, and just like, classic folk and rock and bluegrass musicians, John Prine, like that kind of Dolly Parton, sort of that era of people. What am I focusing on right now? A lot. I'm focusing on a lot right now. There's lots of kind of stuff in the works, and tentative things and things that I have not talked about with anybody, and that are coming up. And so like if you follow me on social media, if you are on my email list, things like that, then you'll hear all about those things as they come to fruition. But I'm focusing on a lot right now. There's a lot going on. The biggest challenge of being a musician. For me, it's that it's incredibly easy to get in your own way. I think that's the biggest thing, is getting in your own way. And like, because it is, being an artist is like, you're vulnerable all the time, and then people are like rejecting you, not necessarily all the time, but like, you know, there is a lot of rejection because it's not, you know, this isn't a kind of thing where you're just like, you apply for jobs and then you get one and you're good and that's it. You know, that's not how being an artist works. And so it's just kind of the way that it is. It's bound to involve a lot of rejection. And like, you know, rejection is just rejection. Like, people cannot want to choose your music or work with you or whatever for so many different reasons, but, you know, I think it's easy for a lot of us to we take everything very personally because we sort of associate the art we create with who we are more than maybe other professions, I think, sometimes, although it definitely depends. So it's like, really the biggest thing is just you getting in your own way and making stories about the things that happen and deciding that it means all sorts of things that it doesn't mean at all. So it's really just trying to stay out of my own way in the art that I create. Yeah. What advice would I give to my younger self? Oh my gosh. I would probably... That's a tough one. Like, I would probably tell her to do what she wanted and she loved first and foremost. You know, and the music that she was creating and the people that she was working with, you know, and to not put so much pressure on everything. I would also tell her that it's not a competition. That was a big thing. I did music competitions from a very early age, and so it really instilled in me like this sense that art is like a contest and you need to be constantly comparing yourself to other people. And if you're not the best, you won't, you know, have the things you love. You won't get to do the things you love. That was like the narrative that I, you know, had spinning in my head for a long time. So I would tell her that like, it is not a competition at all. There are competitions, but, you know, doing this as your job is not a competition. That would be a piece of advice I would definitely give. Have I ever tried any unconventional mediums or techniques? I mean, like, there are things that I do that I think are kind of unconventional. One thing is, like, I'm a classically trained singer, and I have a voice that is very high. So, like, you know, when I'm recording music, I love to do, like, weird high vocal things to basically just, like, manipulate in production and almost make sound like funky synth sounds and things like that. So that's something that's, I feel like, a little unconventional, but I really love to do. I've also just, like, I think it's really fun to, like, use unconventional things for sound, particularly percussion. So I've used, like, chains before for percussion, or just, like, weird, like, in my single that came out in February, Evergreen, we used this, like, funky, like, walking on gravel sound for one of the main percussion lines. It was just so cool and so perfect. So I like using sounds that are not necessarily what you would think of off the bat to make a song. I think that's really cool, and you can do really interesting things with it. So how I prepare to make a track in a studio and then transfer that to live performance. I mean, like, I write everything just me on my couch with my Martin that I've had since I was like 15. And so I write everything pretty much just me singing with a guitar. And then I spend hours with my awesome producer, Christian Ricasina, to, like, and we have references and we do all sorts of things to, like, turn it into something kind of different. So, like, a lot of when I perform just me by myself, it sounds much different, but it's like that's just how I wrote it. And then the production is sort of like this other step in the creative process. But it depends, you know, if I'm playing by myself, that's how it goes. If I'm playing, you know, with other people, if I'm, you know, doing a bigger show, then I might have, you know, certain production elements, like on a backing track, and also have live instrumentation, because we do use things that are not real instruments, and so you know, to have it sound like the produced version, we just keep some of those tracks, like the weird walking on gravel percussion thing. We cannot create that, you know, live, like tangibly. We just have to use the already recorded, manipulated version. So yeah, so it just depends on the performance, and kind of what we're doing for that, in that regard. Yeah. What's the best reaction someone has had to your music? Oh, I've had some good ones. I've had some really good ones from when I was younger that were really great. Like I remember like the first time someone told me that my song made them cry. That was a really good moment. And it was like the first time that happens is really special, because it's just like, wow, I touched, like my experience reached somebody through this medium I created in such a powerful way that they just had like an emotional release. That's so cool. And I think I was like 13, 14 when that happened. And around the same time, I also was playing at like this like outdoor restaurant, something like that, and this guy came up to me and he tipped me like $20, and he told me, he said, I really needed an attitude shift tonight, and you gave me that, so thank you. And that was cool. So just like ways that when I can see that I've created something that actually reached people, and, you know, in some sort of helpful or positive, or, you know, whatever way, that allowed them to get through something, or, you know, have an emotional release, or deal with something difficult in their lives. Like that's it. That's, you know, that's why I do this. So yeah. And then what I hope people take away from my music. I hope that people can use it sort of in the way that I use music, and the way that I use, you know, the songs myself. Like I write these songs to process things and to understand things, and, you know, to just let stuff out. And so, like, I really hope, I always, you know, and everybody uses music in different ways, and if it's just like, I love how this sounds, I'm gonna listen to it, that is freaking awesome and great. But I definitely, like, I hope that it's able to kind of help people through things. Like, you know, I can't tell you the number of times as a teenager I was, like, screaming songs in my bedroom with the music just blasting so loud, because I was, like, it felt like I was exploding inside and needed something. I needed a way to release it. And so, like, I just hope that I can be, that, like, the music that I create can be that for other people. Yeah, and especially, like, I write a lot about mental health and like, dealing with trauma. And I don't see a lot of music that talks about that. And so, like, I really hope that, like, my music can reach people who have those things that they're dealing with and have those experiences, and can maybe take something from it, and, you know, even just feel like, wow, yeah, this like puts into words what I'm experiencing, and I feel less alone. Like, that would be fantastic. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It was great to chat about all this stuff. Yeah, and I will have some upcoming events. I haven't announced them yet. So so the best thing to do is to follow me on social media. Just Elizabeth Winterbourne, the way my name is spelled. You can search me, like, on anything and you'll find me. Specifically, most of my social media handles are at L Winterbourne, specifically. And then you can also get on my mailing list. So anytime that I have, like, an event or release, I shoot out, like, a quick email about that stuff. So you can sign up for that on my website, elizabethwinterbournemusic.com.